Hey, hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and I have a guest that I'm excited to bring you today. This is someone I've run into over and over again in the online world. I feel like I know her. We're in all the same circles, and we've never spoken, so it is long overdue. And today we're going to talk about the introvert-friendly way to host a virtual summit. And I'm truly curious as we go into this episode. I recorded a series of episodes on this topic way back in 2020, but we are long overdue for an update and a fresh perspective. And I just have no doubt that we'll get that today because we're going to hear from someone who specializes in supporting introverted entrepreneurs, Tara Reid. Tara is a business and marketing strategist who has figured out what sustainable success looks like as an introvert. She's hosted over 15 summits, including her signature annual Introvertpreneur Virtual Summit, now in its fifth year. And what makes Tara's approach so refreshing is that she ditched social media entirely in 2022 and still continues to do amazing things. And I think that just shows us introverted entrepreneurs that there is a better way to market that actually like fits our personality and energizes rather than ends up draining us. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk with Tara Reid. And Tara, I want to get started right away with diving into your journey. So you've been in business since 2007, but like I want to hear what your business was like before you discovered virtual summits and what made you think like this is it when you found them.
Yeah, so it was a long time ago, but I think what happened is I started attending summits as an attendee, feeling like they weren't necessarily the ones that I had signed up for weren't necessarily for me. It was a lot of social media marketing, it was a lot of like networking, it was a lot of advice that didn't really fit with how I wanted to grow and build my business, which started to make me think, hey, maybe I could do this. I feel like there's a little bit of a gap here. There should be something for introverts like myself who can learn and connect different ways to market and grow their business. And then I came across Summit in a Box, which I immediately signed up for. I know I forget what you'd said initially, but I know it was like for your first summit to give yourself this much time. I gave myself like 8 months to put together my first summit. And I'm
Okay.
so glad I did that because it was a lot of work. I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist. So I felt like I needed a lot more time to kind of not only just get things in place, but also just have the confidence to feel like I can do this, I can host this, I can show up.
I love that. I am just not used to. I was waiting for you to say I did it in like 5 weeks. I was like, oh man, but you did the opposite. I
I
love
do
that.
them now in like 5 weeks, but
Yeah.
that first one, yeah, I overestimated how much time I would need, but it was actually really good. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. A little breathing room, space to enjoy
Mhm.
the process. I love it. Okay. And now you've hosted over 15. Is that right? That's what I have in my notes.
Yeah, that's over 15 since I think I did my first one in 2000.
Wow. Okay. So like you've been at that's consistency. That's what it is.
Mhm.
But like what would you say surprised you most about hosting a summit as an introvert?
There's a lot of things. I think just thinking back to the first one or two, it was definitely how much time they take to plan.
Mhm.
The second part is also how much fun they actually can be to host. And I think another thing that I knew a little bit just from Summit in a Box, but I didn't actually realize until I had hosted my first one and then decided I'm going to do this again. It was so much fun. But the third thing is actually the number of different benefits that comes from
Mm.
hosting a summit. Like it's authority building, you increase your visibility, it can be a launch strategy. It is great for relationship building, especially as an introvert, networking, email growth, like all these benefits into one event, which is fantastic.
I so agree with that. It's like, and I try to like mention those things every once in a while, but all people want to know before their first one is like, am I going to make money? Am I going to grow my email list? So like the rest of it kind of gets to
Mhm.
be a surprise for people. So I love it when I hear that other people were surprised by that too. You mentioned that it's like something that surprised you is that like how fun it can be. What would you say is the part you enjoy most?
I feel like I feel like I'm really connected to my audience because I am my audience. So especially for the Introvertpreneur Summit, that's kind of like I feel like it's my community. So it's not just an event. It's like this is as an extension of myself. And like where I was, and those are the people that I want to reach through this summit. So it makes it really fun to curate speakers and topics. And I'm also a multi-passionate and I love learning. So sometimes I'll definitely bring in speakers and topics that I want to know too, just because I know I'm also my target audience. So it makes it a little bit easier and funner for me to host.
I love that. You get to benefit too. I want to kind of dive more into like your area of expertise. I really love the way you talk about energy management. Can you walk us through how that shows up when you're planning a summit? And maybe start, I guess, what with like maybe an overview of how you would describe energy management in case anyone just hasn't thought of anything like that before, and then kind of talk about where it shows up in summit planning.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with energy management, it's really about figuring out and understanding for you, because we're all different, like what things that you do that are going to drain your energy versus the things that you do that are going to light you up and give you energy. So, an extrovert, they tend to get their energy from other people. So, they probably would thrive doing a bunch of live sessions or live panels or live engagement. Whereas for most introverts, that typically drains our energy. So we either want to avoid that or we want to be very intentional about how we're adding that into our summit strategy or our summit week. Um, so for me, I mean, I've definitely tested a lot of different things. Like it will come as a big surprise. I actually did one event. It was I think it was December of like 2022 or 2023. I can't even remember now. But I did a event called Funnel Fest and it was entirely live.
Oh.
3 days entirely live. Every session was live. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm glad that I did it just to test and see like different formats, how things work, how it works for me. I will say that my past self did get a big thank you because I did have enough awareness to know that it would be energy draining and exhausting. So I actually had a paid co host every day of the summit, and they were more extroverted. So if I was feeling depleted, I had backup, I had somebody there to bounce off of. It wasn't just me hosting and being there all day.
I love that. I think it was also 2022 where I did a live 3-day event. I thought it was a great idea. And it was fun, right? It was
Mhm.
great, but also
I was
toast.
down for a month afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Do you have anything left in your current summit hosting process that's kind of more on that draining end of things?
I do. I'm very like it depends on what I'm feeling in the moment. Like last year's Introvertpreneur Summit, we always do that one in April. I try to do it around my birthday, so it's kind of like a celebration too, but I know last year I was feeling super low energy. So I actually made it entirely evergreen. There was no live components at all. It was
Mm.
just the evergreen presentations, it was the Facebook group. And then this year, I really wanted to bring back some live, but I knew I still wasn't feeling super, super high energy. So I did it intentionally. So this year, we had 3 live panels. We had one on Monday, one on Wednesday, and one on Friday, so that I would have a day in between to not have any meetings, to not have to show up on Zoom. And that really helped, just having that buffer or gap window.
I like that wiggle room you give yourself too. It's like kind of a case by case basis, how you feel with any given summit coming up. And I think
Mhm.
that's so important versus trying to fit yourself in a box of what you think a summit should look like coming from the owner of Summit in a Box, but like you have to make it work for you. Something else you've talked about is like simplification. I know you have tips to simplify summits without destroying the results. So like what are some of the, I guess, shoulds, like kind of like what we're talking about, the things that introverted hosts think they should do that they actually can let go of without, hurting things?
I think a big part of it is around the planning and letting go of some of like, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I get it, but letting go of some of the things that you don't necessarily have to have your hand in. So I'm big on systems, automations. I absolutely love Airtable. I use Airtable for all of my automated speaker reminders, emails, communications, actually application forms, because that was always a hard part of like
Hmm.
trying to curate speakers and saying no, like I really struggle with that as an empath as well. So I think, and usually when I put out a call for speakers, I'll get like 100 to 200
Oh.
speaker applications. And then going through and trying to figure out like what's going to work best for what I have in mind for this year's event. It's really hard. And I actually, this year, it was supposed to be a 3 day summit. I was trying to shorten it so that we would have less speakers. And after going through the presentations, I was like, there's no possible way I can do this.
Hmm.
But yeah, so definitely systems, having systems in place for things that you're going to have to do on a continuous basis. Anything that can be automated should be automated. Save yourself some time so that you can do the big picture kind of things.
I totally agree. We actually have a little $9 guide on 65 things you can outsource or automate in a summit. So that could be a good thing for someone to check out too. We've also started playing with Airtable for automations. We used to use Content Snare, which is wonderful. But oh my gosh, having it all in Airtable, the forms, the data,
Mhm.
automations, so good. So good. Okay. I also like just with these last couple of things we've talked about, like energy management, simplifying things, like it shows me that you like one, understand how you work, and then you set boundaries for yourself around that. Are there any other boundaries you feel like you have around your summit that other introverts might not think to set up for themselves? Whether it's team or speakers or anything like that?
I think a big part of it too, like I learned very quickly that having at least a virtual assistant to help you is
Mm.
can be very critical. So I have a VA that she's been with me for like 3 or 4 years now. And she helps me every summit month. We add more hours or like the month before the summit, we try to get as much done the month before so that the month of the summit, we are just focused on promotion marketing. We don't have to worry about updating things and making sure things are in order. Everything's set. So typically the day that the cart opens or the summit is available to sign up for, everything's done in the back end. I learned that through trial and error of like I think the first year I did it, I had like speakers could still submit their presentation like in the middle of us promoting it. And I was like, I don't know
Hmm.
what I was thinking. Like a couple
Yeah.
people ghosted, and then I had to remove them from all the marketing materials. And that was I think that's a big thing is like as an introvert, as a
Yeah.
summit host, you're going to learn things. Like every single summit, I've done something that improves over the last time.
Yes, that's one of my favorite things too, is like doing that little debrief at the end and having those aha moments. I feel like at some point we're going to run out of aha moments, but it sounds like it hasn't
Mhm.
happened for either of us yet.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to have that opportunity then to make it better next time and maybe still see some shifts that need to be made. Okay, so these last couple of questions, you've talked about the importance of having someone you hand out things off to, systems, automations. Do you have any like must-have automations or systems that you feel like really help it feel less overwhelming?
I think the big one for me is the speaker communication. I always
Yeah.
found that hard. Like I have an affiliate program of 600 affiliates, and I always forget to email them and let them know when I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Um, so I think just having that, like setting aside a block of time to set up those emails, those reminders, and having them automated and out of mind is so important. So that's definitely been the big one for me is any kind of speaker sponsor communication, just so it's off of my plate. Because I also have ADHD, so sometimes I will forget to do things if it's not already batched and planned and done or automated. So I don't want to leave that to chance that I'm going to miss something. So that's probably the biggest one.
I love that. You're just looking out for yourself.
Mhm.
It's good. Okay, you mentioned that you like sit down and do, all these emails and stuff at once. Do you batch other things in your summit planning too?
Definitely. I try to batch everything, whether it's like promo emails, and I will typically, unless it's a new event, like name and theme, if it's for my annual Introvertpreneur Summit, I will repurpose every single email template. I will just maybe make some tweaks or updates to it if I feel like it. But if something's working, I'm on the side of, if it's working and not broke, don't fix it.
Hmm.
So definitely reusing what you already have also makes it so much simpler.
I feel like that's just a beautiful part of repeating summits over and over. So that we have one coming up in a couple months and it's our first repeat since 2022. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so easy because we keep, trying new things or whatever. It's so nice
It's
to be able
such
to
a
just be like,
difference.
duplicate.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you have a lot of systems and support in place, it sounds like, so that you are not draining yourself throughout this process. If like at any point you do feel drained, do you have like a go-to way to reset your energy?
Usually when I get to that point, I'm like, I need to just step back.
Mm.
And usually it doesn't like because okay, I have experienced burnout before. For my first business, I had an 8 month long period of burnout where it was severe. Like I couldn't do anything. So I've another learning lesson. I've kind of learned a lot of the warning signs when I feel like, oh, I'm doing too much. I'm really drained right now. I'm just not excited about doing this right now. I need to take a break. And usually that just means going for a walk with my dogs and just listening to music while I enjoy outdoor time and just turn my brain off a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I think we really underestimate how quickly we can refresh when we step back. And I think it's because when we're in the moment, we're doing all the things, we're getting burnt out because we're doing too much. It feels like there's no way I can step back because
Mhm.
otherwise everything's going to fall apart or things are going to run behind. But then we do step back. It's like, oh, this is better.
Yeah. And I think
So,
that also comes back to the wiggle room. So I've
mm,
definitely learned to add in wiggle room for a lot of things like speaker due dates, the date that I want promotion to start. I give myself a little bit of wiggle room for every task. So even things in ClickUp, if it has to be done by Wednesday, I'll assign it to myself for the Friday before, just to have that little space where, Friday comes around and the task is there and I'm like, yeah, I really don't feel like doing this today. I can push it off because I have a little few day buffer.
yeah, I love that. It
Mhm.
always feels good to be like, that's a
Yeah.
Monday problem. Give ourselves a
Yeah.
little time to come to terms with the fact that we have to do whatever this task is. We'll
Hmm.
do it. Okay, one other question I wanted to ask you is something that just kind of catches my attention from your overall approach to online business, which does not rely on social media. And I know a lot of my people who are coming in and hosting summits for the first time. They feel like they need to be everywhere to promote this summit and make it successful. And I would guess the thought of not being on social media would sound pretty scary to them. So without social media, how do you feel like you promote your events and like build buzz without those kinds of strategies?
Yeah, so I definitely focus a lot on SEO, so organic traffic, which does mean that I have to have like the registration page and like a bigger window for it to rank in Google and for people to come and find it. I also do a lot when it's summit time with my affiliates. So not just the speakers at the event, but also my huge affiliate program that I rarely use outside of summits. I
Hmm.
encourage them to promote and share. I do the same like when somebody signs up for a free ticket, like become an affiliate, share this with a friend. And I think a lot of those people share on social media, so I don't necessarily have to be there. I personally will stick to Pinterest, organic traffic, my email list, which is always like 100% my ideal audience because this summit is so on brand.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of ways to get visible and get your summit out there without social media. And I have done social media just in terms of ads for a few times in the past for the summit, but showing up and posting, I no, I don't want to do that.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful parts about hosting a summit is that you don't have to be everywhere because you're bringing on speakers, and between all of you, someone is everywhere, so it doesn't rely on you sharing at any one place, and email is a million times more effective anyways, so
Mhm.
it's fine. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this. I think like I am walking away just hearing the importance you put on these boundaries, on these systems, on knowing yourself and the way you work and what drains you versus not, and just seeing the shifts you can make, seeing the changes you need to make in your event and paying attention to it probably as you're doing your planning and as your event goes on so you can shift things next time. But I appreciate you sharing so much. Can you share where people can go to learn more about you, what you offer, connect, get started, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so definitely my email list is the best place to be. That's where I share all the content and all the behind the scenes stuff. So if you go to thetarareid.com/quiz, I have a fairly new quiz that I created that people are just loving for introverts specifically. It's going to ask you a few questions and tell you what your introvert superpower is. And then when you get your results, it's not just going to tell you what they are, it's also going to tell you what the best marketing methods are for you based on your strengths, and then all of my free resources or content that will help you add in those marketing methods for your business. So yeah, definitely get on my email list. That's number one for me. I'm not on social media anymore, loving that, but I'm emailing a lot of good stuff.
I love that. I'm gonna go take this quiz for real because that sounds super fun. Thank you so much for being here. We'll link to that quiz in the show notes, by the way. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. For the link to that, for anything else we mentioned in this episode, head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high converting virtual summit.